Hello there, this is Cindy at cindybdesigns.com. Thank you for joining me today. These are the three alternative cards that we will be making from the May 2024 Paper Pumpkin Kit, and that is entitled The Best There Is. They're very simple, easy to make. I stuck to kit contents for the most part, and that is everything you get in the box and everything that I have left over from making those three cards there on the front. There's not, there's no ribbon in this kit, no bling or anything like that, but the wood grain envelopes are fantastic. So this coordinates beautifully with the Country Wood Suite collection on pages 50 through 52, 53 of the annual catalog with the Country Woods and Country Lace Designer Series paper. And you're going to see me bring in both for all alternatives. So you get all those elements that you see on the brochure there. I'm going to show them to you now. The dies, they came out, I think, in March, April, May, and I'm sure we'll have some for next month for June and after that. But that one die coordinates perfectly, and it actually cuts out some of the cutouts that you get in the paper pumpkin. And then you get an ink spot and just panels and everything like that. And those are the three cards that you can make that come in the kit. And no matter what kit I have, I pull the envelopes out and toss them in my stash, just in case I don't use them all. Why let them go? They're going to coordinate with something sooner or later down the line. So those are all very, very simple to make. And like I said, I'm bringing in minimal outside supplies, more panels there. And the colors in this kit are basic beige, which if you remember, I think 2017, 2018, it's kind of like Sahara sand, but better. So that's in there, and I'm using that today as well. Creme Cake, Early Espresso, Misty Moonlight, Pool Party, and Wild Wheat. Now these are very masculine colors, but I think on the second card I lightened them up a little bit. So hopefully everything will go as planned, and I will have the measurements, everything like that, for all the cards on the blog at cindybdesigns.com. And like I said, I'll have all the measurements, and there'll be a link below the description on YouTube. They'll take you directly to this project. So those are the card fronts that we're getting, and you can make 3 of each card. So for the first card, I am bringing in the Birch Wood embossing folder and stylish shapes, and our card base is going to be basic beige, and then I cut another mat and ran it through that Birch Wood embossing folder, and I'm going to adhere that down with liquid adhesive. Now the piece of paper, the wood grain paper that you see over there to the right, that is something that you can cut out from, use from one of the envelopes in there, and I grabbed that from the Country Woods 12 by 12 Designer Series paper in the Country Woods Suite collection. So I got that down with liquid adhesive. Now those strips there, they also came from the Country Woods Designer Series paper, and they are cut 3/4 across by 1 inch down. And I'm just going to lay them down with some liquid adhesive real quick and just stagger the direction that they go in. I'm not caring too much about if they're necessarily even or not. On the left and right, I do want them even, but when I put them down, I angle them, just fuss around with it and kind of wing it. But I was talking about this last week about that Birchwood folder, how they're larger because, the company's getting more into scrapbooking ever since picking up close to my heart, some of the products from there. And it's great for them. So now I'm trying to figure out, okay, which one I want to lay down in the middle there. Pick that one out, got that laid down, and that is what our card base is looking like. So I'm pulling in the Stamparatus. And the sentiments in the stamp set that comes in the paper pumpkin, they're fantastic. And this one's my favorite, and I'm probably going to leave it out on my desk because you can use this one for everything. And like I said, it's a masculine paper pumpkin that's focused on Father's Day with, one of the sentiments, but this one is a really good one. So I'm going to lay that down with Misty Moonlight, and that's one of the colors in the paper pumpkin and where you get that cube from. And I'm going to put it down again because I like my sentiments and everything to be very crisp and so you can see them. And I think I'm going to pull in my heat tool and get that dried real quick because blue is a super fussy color. And so I got my stamp clean there. And yeah, I'm gonna wave it. And do I pull in the heat tool? I guess not. So that is the third largest stylish shapes die. And I pop that over the sentiment, pull in the mini Stampin' Cut and Emboss machine. I'm going to run that through real quick, and then we are going to have our sentiment. So in the meantime, all we're going to do with this card here, I'm going to mess around with some ribbon, loop it behind our sentiment that's going to be adhered to our card base with Stampin' Dimensionals. But I wanted to answer a question, a couple of them, about the same thing. How do I store my paper pumpkin kits? And this is really bad. I leave them in their box, everything. But the envelopes, they're behind me where I keep mine normally. And I really have to change that and get them in front of my face. I mean, even the stamp set will be in the box too. But the brochures that come along inside the kits, I do have them on a jump ring and behind me. So that way if I get stuck on something or I'm trying to find another option, those brochures is the first place I turn to. I can open it up and see exactly what comes with the kit, the colors, everything like that. So I think actually that's probably why I keep it in the closet, because I do have a very small workspace and that does work out. But I think that keeping it closer to me, or at least so I can see it rather than turning around and grabbing the ring, is the story, because my brain works weird sometimes. So after I fudged through getting all that together, I kicked around putting some of those cork adhesive dots on the back and decided against it. Now the ribbon that you saw for our other card, that is retired, but the color is still in our lineup, and I haven't exactly transitioned over to from the catalog yet over to the new one. So for our second card, I'm pulling in a crumb cake card base, and this time around I'm using the Country Lace Designer Series paper because I wanted some subtle texture in the background, because I think this one's going to be loaded up a little bit with a lot of those die cuts that you see up there to the upper right hand side. So doing that, I'm going to super speed it up, and when I'm cutting them, I'm leaving a little bit of lip at the bottom, as you can see there, because that way I can put adhesive on that and loop it around one of that circle sentiment, or that circle right there, and get it into a wreath shape. And I'm going to eventually do that with liquid adhesive and pull it off screen doing that, since you're watching me put everything together, and make sure it all flows and goes nice and gets all pretty and things like that. So for this card here, I brought in another retired product to embellish with, of the adhesive back cork rounds, because they're there. So why not? And like I said, I haven't gone through everything. Now what I just showed you there, when you hear me talk about the bones, it's the outside of the Stampin' Dimensionals that I just cut down to size or whatever. They're sticky, why not use them? So after I put everything together, the card base was looking kind of blah. So I brought in a Stampin' Right marker and I flicked some splatters on there just to, give it a little bit more color in the background. Now with this card, there is no sentiment on the front, and there's no hard and fast rule that says you have to put one on there anyway. So I didn't do it, laid it down kind of not to where exactly I wanted it, try to pull it back up, and it was not going to come back up. But in order to fit into one of our standard envelopes, I have to trim it up on the sides there a little bit. If I was going to attach this to a bag or something, I wouldn't worry about it, but I just thought, okay, I'm going to cut this down and, wing my options. So I'm looking like that. I did do the inside, which you saw real quick right there. So I'm using 2 large and 3 small of those cork rounds to embellish this card with. Now, in all honesty, if I had a redo of this card, I would have tucked those, oh, the greenery, the leafy stuff, in way, way, way further. That's too spread out for me and too disorganized. So it just happened. So for our last card, again, I'm bringing in a crumb cake card base and that little greenery image from the stamp set. And I'm inking that up with Versamark because I wanted to add some real subtle texture to that. And then when you use Versamark, it will do it. It doesn't look like much now, but in person, hopefully the pictures reflect that on the outside. But I knew that I was going to have a 1/4 inch margin all the way around, and I wanted to do something about that because this card here is pretty clean and simple, standard layout that a lot of people use. And that panel there is from the card kit, and I'm layering that on top real quick with our seal adhesive. And then that is another card front from the kit. So I'm pulling in my scissors there, and I'm going to cut all the way around that frame because the die cuts that coordinate with this kit, I'm using that for the very center of the sentiment because that's way too large. And I like that the outside is the basic beige with the inside being early espresso. So I'm going to, there we go, see? So I'm going to pull in a piece of basic beige cardstock and pull in our sentiment that's, I'm going to use, if I remember, early espresso ink. But before I do that, I wanted to grab those trees and again put on like another little subtle layer of something to back behind that, because to me then it gets a little bit too stark with that color because it's a super very, very neutral color. And that's just my thing I like to do. So I'm getting our sentiment down in there, left, right, top, bottom. I'm going to mess with that for a while because it's a photopolymer stamp. It sticks to my little pokey tool. Making sure it is straight on the lid. And then get that down with early espresso. I'm going to lay that down twice with that color because I always do. And there's that Chucky thing that you've heard me talk about a few times in videos. I just pick up off Amazon, Stamp Chucky or something like that. Get the stamp clean because brown will stain. And this time I'm going to heat set it because it will smear on one. Pull in the die cut and some very low tack tape that I, again picked up from Amazon. And that's going to be run through the Stampin' Cut and Emboss machine. And this card is going to be super easy to put together once I get all that done. Now, on every single card I've done here, the alternatives, I have brought in retired product that just, at the beginning of this month. If you really want to, it's going to be on the clearance rack. I haven't checked it out lately, but chances are it's going to be there because excess inventory, you know how it goes. And pick it up if you want it because now's the time to do it. So I got that cut out, and you can see how great everything just, it inlays nicely together. I'm going to lay that down with some liquid adhesive. And I know that I'm going to adhere that entire panel there with stamped dimensionals, but in the meantime, on the back of it, I am bringing in that really nice natural trim ribbon that you see there. And I'm going to make an attempt to fray it a little bit, which is kind of going to be a comedy of errors. And I'm laying that on the back and pulling in some Scotch tape because I do want that laying down pretty flat on the back since it's a thicker weave and there is some texture to that. So I'm not quite sure what we are going to be doing for next week yet, but I was thinking about maybe a gift box, something 3D-ish, using note cards with 6 cards and envelopes, and definitely a sweet collection. I'm just not sure which one I'm going to use yet. And I think I did something like this a couple years ago, but why not update it? And so now I finally think that I have my sentiment going down right. Stamped dimensionals on the back of that to adhere it, and then I'm going to get two of the large cork dots and then pop them on, the edges of that. And then that card's going to be gone or done. So if you want to join next week, yeah, I think that 3D gift box would work, and just for something a little bit different too. And then maybe a double page scrapbook spread. So definitely wish me luck on that one. But again, give me ideas. Something that you want to see, if it's a technique or anything like that. I'm always open for all that stuff. So now I think I'm finally getting the sentiment down and winding this up here. So I do hope that you enjoyed today's alternatives. If you have any questions or anything like that, please let me know. My blog post is not ready yet, and it's Thursday the 23rd. Oh, pushy noon. So come back and look for that in maybe an hour or two, and it will definitely be up. But in the meantime, again, thank you for stopping by. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe. Leave me a comment. Shoot me off an email if you'd like to. And I look forward to seeing you again next week. And stay safe. I know the weather here has been kind of just, tornadoes touching down everywhere. I mean, like within a couple of miles of me. So it's been a little bit weird and just, it's been a drag. But I know there's been a lot worse out there lately. So those are our cards. And again, thank you for joining me today. And I hope that you enjoy the rest of your week. And I will see you again next week.